In a few of my previous videos, I mentioned how ChatGPT/AI helped me through the admissions process, and thinking about it some more, it deserves its own video. So, in this video, we'll talk about how ChatGPT and AI can help you tailor your application essays ethically. So, in order to get a framework for what ethical means in this sense, let's turn to the ethics code and statement of integrity that you have to acknowledge before you submit your essays or submit your application. This one is Wharton's. So, it generally says that the Wharton School of Business embraces the use of Gen AI and sees it as an important tool. And while they believe that Gen AI will continue to provide utility to all students, they recommend applicants treat Gen AI as you would the guidance or writings of another person. So that means, as it is unacceptable to have another person substantially write your admissions essay, it is also unacceptable to have AI substantially complete the task. So now that we understand that, the three topics I wanted to talk about today is how to use ChatGPT or AI as a research engine, how to use it like a consultant, and how to use it for feedback. I talked about before how you can use AI to help you research. And this was really important in my process because I only had 1 month to learn about the application process and to learn about all these schools. So, I mentioned in my previous videos how you can use AI to help you compare schools and also zero in on what every school cares about. So, you can go into ChatGPT, you can go into, whatever LLM you use and say, help me compare the applicant pools for HBS, GSB, and Wharton, or whichever schools that you're trying to apply to. And you can ask it to generate a graph where it spits out, some comparisons. That way you know how to tailor your essays. I also used it to compare cost of attendance at many different schools because although the tuition is pretty similar for most schools, the cost of living is very different. So you can ask ChatGPT to compile all the information for all the schools that you're interested in, plus the cost of living for, a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom studio apartment on campus, off campus, whatever have you, and get a more tailored cost of attendance for you. So when you're choosing to apply to different schools, you can also use that as a reference point. And then additionally, a lot of schools offer different kinds of aid. So you can ask ChatGPT what kind of aid these schools offer and factor that into your decision because going to school is a large financial decision. And then next, I wanted to talk about how you can use AI like an admissions consultant. So, first, it's no secret that I would say a majority of the students that get into these top schools use a consultant. So when the statement of integrity says that they recommend applicants treat Gen AI as you would the guidance or writings of another person, that directly triggers that you can use AI as a consultant. The power behind a consultant is that they're able to help you tighten the narrative and help you improve your writing. But I would give this caveat that your writing style needs to sound like you. If you go into the interview and you sound different than your essays sound, then that is already a very big red flag. So, like if you had a consultant, you can also ask ChatGPT or AI questions. You can ask about the various professors, classes, and programs offered at the school. So, if the school is asking you what resources that you would most benefit from or what you're most excited about, you can use ChatGPT to kind of shortlist that research for you because the school's catalogs are very, very long and sometimes hard to go through. And unless you have a definitive idea of what you want to do, it's much easier to have a back and forth with ChatGPT saying, like, these are my interests, like, what resources does this school offer that align with my interests? And then afterward, you can dig deeper. So you can go to the school website and do deeper research to get a better understanding before writing your essays. And lastly, I wanted to talk about feedback. This is arguably the most powerful feature that I used when I used ChatGPT to help me write my essays. So, something that I learned at a training at work is you can get AI to impersonate another person or a profession. So, you can ask it to impersonate like a wedding planner and help you plan your wedding, or you can ask it to be a professional chef and help you plan your meals for that week given specific macros or whatever you have available in your fridge. So it is very powerful when you ask it for very tailored advice. So I redid this exercise. I just put in a past draft of one of my essays and asked ChatGPT to give me feedback. And you can also feel free to leverage this prompt for yourself as well. It's very straightforward. I just write, act as a Harvard Business School admissions committee member or officer and give me feedback on one of my essays. And the prompt is the business minded prompt, and the essay is one of the drafts I wrote for that prompt. And then it will give you feedback. So I really like how it gives positive feedback first, what's working, and then it goes into what's not working. In this case, it tells me that there might be a slight mismatch between tone for the top and the middle paragraph, which makes sense because the first paragraph was a little bit more personal, and then I might have dropped into a little bit too much professional jargon in the second paragraph or the latter paragraphs. And then it tells me that my future goals sound pretty standard and not unique enough. And then it also tells me to tie in a little bit more about HBS and make it more personal or unique. So that was some of the feedback. And if you want to know if I implemented that feedback, you can go back and watch some of my essay reveals. But generally, I felt that this back and forth with ChatGPT of me asking for feedback and it giving me feedback, and then me choosing whether or not I wanted to implement that feedback was extremely powerful and extremely helpful because it was like having a consultant tell me what I needed to fix before I submitted my essay. But I do want to reiterate that you do need to use your own judgment. For example, it told me to have more specific or unique reasons why HBS is my best fit, but I decided not to write too much about HBS specifically because when I talked to one of my friends who does go to HBS, he told me that HBS isn't necessarily concerned about their yield. So they don't really care to learn about why you want to go to their school. They would rather learn about what makes you tick rather than you regurgitate things that they already know. So that was a piece of advice that ChatGPT gave me that I ignored. I did not implement because I took different advice from a friend. So I guess that's it. These were the three primary ways I used ChatGPT to help me in the admissions process, and it saved me a lot of time and money because I didn't have to pay a consultant, and it ended up working out really well. So, as a reminder, it was use it as an analyst to help you do research, use it as a consultant to help you tighten your narrative, and you can use it to leverage information from past application seasons. And the most powerful of all, you can use ChatGPT to give you feedback. So, yeah, if you thought this was helpful, leave me a comment and tell me which aspect you thought was the most helpful. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments as well. And best of luck to everyone who is applying this season.